What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. I know I talk about a lot of different games on this channel, but the common DNA in most of them is that they are some variation or take on TSR D&D if they're not Savage Worlds. And today I'm going to be talking about the version of TSR D&D that I spent the most time with, that being AD&D 2nd Edition. You see, it's been about 26 years since I had a group that I was able to play TSR era D&D with. That was until this past week. My two boys, 14 and 5, agreed to go on a little dungeon delve with me, and we played in AD&D 2nd Edition, and it was beautiful. I had a great time, and they did as well. But it got me to thinking, should you be thinking about playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition in 2024? I'm going to call this video Advancing Your Game, why you should consider AD&D 2nd Edition in 2024, and how you can get started. Reasons to play AD&D 2nd Edition in 2024. Number 1. Compatibility. TSR era D&D tends to be highly compatible with other game systems because it shares a lot of DNA with them. When it comes to AD&D 2nd Edition, I am perfectly comfortable converting on the fly from any of the systems I have here and more. Swords and Wizardry is based on Basic and OD&D. Easy. Osric or 1st Edition D&D. It's pretty much the same system without the non-weapon proficiencies. Easy. Basic. Same stat blocks. The monster stats may be a little bit different. AC may be off by 1 point. Still, you can just use what it is printed in the books. Old School Essentials, all the adventures and different accessories for it. Very compatible with AD&D 2nd Edition for the same reason. Worlds Without Number, same thing. Dungeon Crawl Classics, it's a little bit different, but still, if you really want to use some monsters, some quests, some magical items from Dungeon Crawl Classics, it is so easy to convert on the fly that I would consider it something I wouldn't even prep for. I would just grab the book and run it right at the table, convert ascending AC to descending AC, you're done. Hyperborea. There are a ton of great adventures set in Hyperborea, and if you wanted to just buy some of those adventures and you had your old AD&D 2nd Edition books around, or you wanted to use one of the alternative AD&D 2nd Edition formats that I'll talk about later, you could do that. And they are some great adventures, and they're still being printed and published today. You could pick those up and play those in AD&D 2nd Edition. And that is why compatibility is my number 1. Number 2, scalability. You could quite easily play a very fulfilling, full-length campaign using just the 3 books that I have in front of me here. We did back in the day. But if you wanted to add more options, more flavor, more variety to your game, well, 2nd Edition has you covered. Now, there is some argument about how high the quality is with some of the releases, but my goodness, there are plenty of good ones out there. And if you wanted to go from this to full gonzo, you've got options. You have the complete handbook series. You've got the fighters, the thieves, the priests, the wizards, the bards, the paladins, the barbarians, the ninjas, the druids, the gnomes and halflings, the elves, the dwarves, the book of humanoids, the complete book of psionics. You've got the complete book of Rangers. I think I may have actually gotten all of them. If I didn't, I apologize, but there's a bunch. I have them all right here. And You can add kits and extra classes, and each one of these books has a wealth of information about role playing these different characters, and it gives you ideas for different character types within that archetype. It gives you all sorts of starting points for campaigns that are focused around specific types of classes. You can also add the Tome of Magic with wild magic and elemental spellcasters to your game. You can add all sorts of campaign specific books, and we'll get to the campaigns later, but needless to say, the variety that you can add creates a scalability with this edition that I just don't find to be the same with any other edition of Dungeons and Dragons. You can make it whatever you want it to be, and that makes it great. Number 3, it's simple to play, if not to learn. My 5-year-old is playing it right now. There's less action bloat, less build paralysis, more, can I try this? My 14-year-old, who has played Old School Essentials, Pathfinder 2e, and 5e D&D, put it best. Dad, I like that I feel I can try anything. Sometimes less is more, and a lack of options in front of you creates the most interesting choices. So, when you have a mechanic for everything, and when a single resolution resolves everything, it can lead players to trying to search for answers of what to do on their character sheet rather than what their character would do. It's kind of counterintuitive, but these character sheets are so unintuitive to a younger gamer that they almost don't even look at the character sheet to try to find an answer of what to do. And so as they're learning the game, they're just saying, well, can I do this? Well, sure, make a roll. Well, what do I need to roll? Well, let's see. You've got this non-weapon proficiency. Let's go with that. Or I'm not even going to make you roll because it's cool and I think that would be something your character could do reasonably. So my point being that some of the clunkiness or the lack of clarity in this game system will actually make it simpler to play for newer players if they have an experienced game master, because the game master can offload most of the behind the scenes rules mechanics and put that right on his plate and manage that quite easily, while the players just have to focus on what does the knight want to do or what does the wizard want to do in this situation. And to me, that is what we're shooting for with a role-playing game. Otherwise, we're just playing a JRPG on a table. Number 4, setting availability. Now, I know it talked about the scalability of the system, but I feel like this is a separate category. So one thing that second edition D&D did that no other system has ever done was put out the volume of boxed sets that it did, and for good reason. I think that they were probably losing money on each of these. Every one of these boxes, when you opened it up, it was like Christmas morning. It's got great maps with amazing art in it. It's got extra monsters. It's got different adventures. Some of them have kits and magic items and pantheons of gods. Some of them even add extra classes to the game, races, etc., etc. And because so much of what is added from these box sets is fluff and story and setting information and world building, this is evergreen. All of this is a great investment for any DM. Whether you ever want to play in Al-Qadim or in the Dragonland setting or Forgotten Realms or Dark Sun, there's still great information to mine from every one of these boxes. But if you're playing in AD&D 2nd edition, you get the added benefit of everything being built for the system that you're playing in. So whether you wanted to play in a post-apocalyptic desert world of Athos, or you wanted to play in the high fantasy Tolkien-esque Forgotten Realms, or you wanted to go to the Mesoamerican Mazteca setting, or play a game set in the fantasy version of the Middle East in Al-Qadim. You have so many options. And what's even better, through Ravenloft, Planescape, and Spelljammer, the worlds can be brought together. If you have characters that you want to introduce for whatever the reason from one world to another, there are ways within the system to do so. And I know you may be saying, well, I've seen the prices of some of these on eBay right now, more than I want to spend. Well, you don't have to start out by buying all of them. You know, you could pick up one of these box sets around $100. You can get a campaign setting, usually, in good shape, with everything in it. And that's enough to play forever and a day. And everything else is just added flavor and options. So if you wanted to start picking some of these up, I would start with one of the campaign settings. Dark Sun is a great one. It's something that there's no real analog to today. You could pick up Forgotten Realms. If you were going to do so, I would either pick up this box here or the first edition box set, which is known as affectionately as the gray box. Tales of the Lance, I would say that this release, Tales of the Lance, is better than anything put out since. I would not buy the 3rd edition book over this. I would not buy the 5th edition books over this. My point is, these box sets were designed to be played with the 2nd edition of the game, and there is a wealth of information in these boxes that can be used both for your 2nd edition game and for whatever other game you're playing. My characters in my group are playing Savage Worlds Pathfinder, and they are playing in the Forgotten Realms, and I am using all of my Forgotten Realms box sets wherever they want to go. I've got maps for it, I've got story behind it, I've got history behind it, and they are going to be able to travel wherever they want to go. And if they decide they want to leave the planet, I even have Spelljammer and Planescape and Ravenloft for them to do that. Point being, these are the types of products that don't get made now and won't get made again. So they are solely designed for the 2nd edition of the game. But like I said, they have cross compatibility because there's so much setting information. If you're wanting to pick some up at a little bit lower price, most, if not all of these, are available on DriveThruRPG in PDF format, and many of them even have print-on-demand options, and there are some real gems in here. And number 5, the sheer variety of entry points to the system that there are. Now, within these different entry points, there are levels for all budgets and all desire of fidelity to the original. For Gold and Glory, you can get on PDF for free on DriveThruRPG, and it's going to have your monsters, your player's handbook, and your Dungeon Master's Guide all in one book. And if you want a printed copy, you can get a printed copy even for between $17 for the just regular softbound book like this, to up to $65.99 for a premium hardbound copy. The advantages of it, like I said, everything in one book. You don't have to carry around 3 different books. You've got everything you need in that book. It's completely compatible with all 2E material. That being said, there are some slight differences. It's almost like playing 2nd edition with some minor house rule tweaks. But they were common house rule tweaks, so it's not like they reinvented the wheel. For Gold and Glory would be recognizable as 2nd edition D&D to somebody that was playing 2nd edition D&D in the 90s. So that's the least expensive option. You want to go up from there? They have reprints of the collector's edition available on DriveThruRPG. And those you get for $9.99 a piece for the PDFs, or you can get PDF and a print copy in softbound for $21 a piece, except for the Monsters Manual is $24.99. So again, for less than $70, you can have all 3 books, everything that was in those books originally, in them in the reprint format. So you're not missing out on anything. It is exactly as it was presented in the revised editions of those books. So that is another option. Less than $70, you've got an entire game. That is far less than it would take to get into 5th edition or Pathfinder 2nd edition or many other role-playing games today. If you wanted to get a little bit more true to the original, a little bit more of a retro feel, you could pick up one of the revised copies. These tend to be a little bit less expensive than the original printing, the original covers. They're still very high quality. Some of the artwork was changed in the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Not everybody likes that. The format was changed a little bit, but the game is still the same. It's just got some better errata. And like I said, some of the art was changed for better or worse. Those tend to be a few bucks less than the first printings. And if you wanted to go a little bit higher yet, you could pick up the original copies, and you can get a Player's Handbook in pretty reasonable shape for 30 to 40 bucks. The Monstrous Manual tends to be a little bit more expensive. You want to get one in good condition, it might cost you 70 or 80 bucks. Dungeon Master Guide, luckily, it is the cheapest of the 3 because this is not one of the well-loved Dungeon Master's Guide editions. So you can usually pick one of those up for around 20 bucks. So even if you wanted to get the original covers, you wanted to stay true to the art and the layout and the design of the first printings, then you could do that for less than $150. So still not crazy money we're talking about to get into 2nd edition. If you wanted, you could even try to run down one of the limited edition hardbounds that were released around 2013. The covers look like these, but they're kind of a faux leather, and I think they've got some like imprinting in the covers, and they look quite beautiful from what I've seen on the internet, but I've never managed to track a real one down in the wild. Those can go for some crazy money, for me anyways, and that's another option. My point being, you can get into this as cheap as you want, even free, for legal copies, if you go with For Gold and Glory. You can get into it very inexpensively and be completely true to the fidelity of the original through the PDFs of the actual Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and DMG. Those are $9.99 a piece, so for $30 you can have the entire core rulebook set. If you want paper copies, you got to have the print in your hand. You know, still less than $70, you can have all 3 in print. My point being that the cost, the availability is not a reason to not give this a try. If you have some nostalgia for what D&D used to be, or you've been watching Stranger Things and you want your game to be a little bit more like that, then this would be a way to try that at a low entry cost and to play a proven game. It's got some warts. It's not perfect. You're going to find some things that you don't like about it. But if you give it a try and you take it for what it is, I think that there is a lot to love here. And that is why I think it's still viable to play AD&D 2nd edition in 2024. And that's why me and my 2 boys are playing it right now. If you have enjoyed the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.